Docked is a private social club that connects like-minded members to promote simple living and connection with others, the community, and nature. One of our popular member benefits is the ability to live with a tribe of like-minded members in a radically energy efficient and affordable shared housing arrangement.
I won't be defined by your dreams, committed to my goals, yeah. Gotta do my own thing, keep up the hustling. I won't be defined by your dreams, committed to my goals, yeah. Gotta do my own thing.
Hi, welcome to Hustleburg. Thank you for sharing your time with us as we chat with entrepreneurs here in St. Petersburg, Florida. We talk about how they got started, how they built their business, and how they serve our community. I'm Brett Bittner, and I'm the host of Hustleburg, and I started Beyond Your Side Hustle because I found that most entrepreneurs lack the time and expertise to build their own digital marketing strategy and still get results. As an entrepreneur here in St. Pete myself, I love meeting and talking with fellow small business owners about what they do and sharing that conversation with you. Now, you may have noticed a few changes with the podcast lately. One of the biggest is that we're now doing video. So if you're only listening to this episode, whether it's on your favorite podcast player, radiostpete.com, or Sunshine 96.7 FM, please know that this episode and all future episodes are available for you to view on YouTube and beyondyoursidehustle.com. Just visit beyondyoursidehustle.com/YouTube to subscribe or to watch your favorite episode of Hustleburg. If you find anything of value in this episode, I encourage you to subscribe. And if you would, also rate and review the episode as well, because it sends us the right signals to know how the conversations add value for you. Finally, if you're interested in being a guest in an upcoming episode and you own a small business here in St. Pete, let us know by visiting beyondyoursidehustle.com/podcast guest. So, Mark, why are you helping redefine what housing looks like through co-living spaces?
Sure. Well, let's first start talking about why people go into business. And for the most part, for most people go into business because they want to make money. And I've certainly founded companies that have that explicit purpose. I've also worked with nonprofits that don't necessarily make money, but they make change. And my favorite these days is kind of the hybrid model, like Docked, that are interested in both change as well as dollars. So Dock does have a social mission, and it's also profitable, because if it were not profitable, nobody else would do it, which means there would be less overall impact. And our idea is that if there is a way to make profit, then the idea will spread. And that's something that we're advocating for, is that we're seeing a lot of demand that far exceeds the ability to supply. And so we want other people to do this as well.
So how is Docked Living then different from what we would consider traditional housing or even other co-living spaces? What sets you apart from what we're kind of used to seeing when it comes to housing?
Yeah, we started with a different thesis, and that's one that started with certain social ills. So like today, especially in the COVID era, the loss of connection is a hot topic. And it's something that, I've seen firsthand in my own peer group. I've seen peers end up with addictions, with drug issues, with alcohol issues, with social alienation, social isolation, and it just started with that question: is why are people suffering when we have so much? And so we started questioning certain priorities. What we came down to is that there was a lot of people that were like us, that wanted to live tiny, that wanted to spend less on housing, that wanted to live on the earth gently, consume less, have more free time. And so we're like, what if we create an organization that would value people over possessions and experiences over things? And that's how we started with affordable housing.
So what was it that inspired you to do this? Was it that lack of connection, or was there a catalyst that said, Mark, this is really where you need to focus your efforts?
Yeah. So a few years ago, I'd built a business and had a successful exit. was thinking about philanthropy. And there was also a really cute girl in Chicago that I wanted to date. Definitely didn't want to live leave sunny St. Pete because I think it's a paradise.
Sure.
But if I was going to move to Chicago, I had to do something radical. I wanted to have an adventure. And the interesting thing about Chicago is that the South Side is a war zone. It's a complete disaster. It's almost like living in Somalia or third world country. And so I was like, if I'm moving to Chicago, let's stay there. And that's what we did. And through that experience, I started learning and studying, poverty, how people became connected to opportunities. And then I came down to the conclusion that urban planning really, really matters. It's why rich people are on one side of town, poor people are another. It's why you have white people on the north side and you've got Black and brown people on the south side. And urban planning will impact things like how many friends you have, how often you see them, expectations that you have for yourself, your ability to connect easily with resources in the city, connections with nature, connections with people in power, connections to good educational and employment opportunities. And so I started thinking about what are the creative ways that we could use a hack within urban planning to exist within the existing framework, not change anything politically, because that's an entirely different mission. But what can we do now that would help create more connection and affordability in an environment that is super expensive and has some of these problems?
So who is the ideal resident that would find value in this co-living space that Docked Living provides?
Yeah, it's really for a wide range of folks. There are some people specifically that it will not be for. For example, people that are very disagreeable, people that don't like other people, people that have zero interest in community or participation in events together. So really the underlying theme might be that Docked members are people that value people over possessions and experiences over things.
Okay. Now, there's a minimalism aspect I've gathered as well from the time that I've spent kind of learning a little bit about what it is that you do. How does that tie in to Docked Living and the residents that you're serving?
Sure. So, our goal, from the outset was to be the most affordable place in town. And also the most energy efficient. And, we do that by having a subscription to our social club that all in is between $600 and $900 a month. And that would include housing. It would include all utilities, internet, supplies, furniture, cleaning. And to us, that was super radical. So the market rent for comparable quality housing outside of our organization would be about double that. So Docked is really, a paradigm shifting approach to housing. And so far people absolutely love it. There are hundreds and thousands of people that want to live at Docked, and we literally can't keep up with all the applications.
Now, what resources do you have at your disposal that are helping you in guiding this business? I know you mentioned earlier you had a successful exit in another endeavor. Is there anything special that you're doing in this one, or resources that you're using that are really helping you with growing and getting Docked to the point where you'd like to see it?
Sure. The goal from day one is to create something that can scale. So what we're doing in St. Pete is all about iterations. It's about learning. It's about improving the business model with the idea that affordable housing isn't specific to Tampa Bay. It is in almost every city in America, and it's desperately needed. So we've seen that through the number of applications that we receive. We haven't done really any marketing at all, but we've got a lot more demand than supply. And so our idea is that we're going to start transitioning in the next 6 months towards looking at other municipalities. And I would not be surprised if at some point in the future we have thousands of properties in operation.
Now, what is one thing that you would like every member of the Hustleburg community to know about the issues that you see with our current kind of housing structure as it is, and kind of how co-living spaces address it? You talk about it as a social club as well. So kind of share a little bit about, what it is that makes this so unique and something that they're going to want to know more about.
Sure. Let's just start with an issue that's on a lot of people's mind these days, which is why is our rent so expensive?
Mhm.
What we found is that a lot of the expense associated with housing is directly related to the level of regulation. So in Pinellas County, all the land is basically already built. We're surrounded
Right.
by water, and yet there's a lot of investment in things like the pier and Tropicana and other areas that are making the city more desirable. So when you have a fixed level of supply, but you have more people looking to live there, of course, everything is going to go up in value.
Sure.
The natural response to that, if we were interested in affordable housing, if we were interested in protecting lower income individuals, would be, we have to have some form of radical change.
Okay.
About 30% of our cost of construction goes to meeting requirements that absolutely benefit nobody. And we think are worthy of looking at. There's many municipalities, cities, even the entire state of Oregon that have banned single family zoning. That would be something that we would advocate for, as well as the elimination of parking requirements, which cities like Minneapolis and Buffalo have done. There's certain groups out there are doing it, and it's making a big difference. So there's three main things that we do very differently when we think about affordable housing. One is that within the regulation, we work within the confines. We don't look to change the existing regulation, but within that, how can we push the envelope to get the biggest property we can on every land parcel? The second thing we do is we use construction tech. We have to be innovative. We cannot build like we did 100 years ago. We have to take advantage of technology to lower the cost of doing things. And the third thing is we have to be a little bit creative. We have to think about housing differently. So if the American style was everybody lives independently in their own little quarters, that's one way to do it. And we've seen the results of that, which means it gets really expensive really fast. Maybe another way is that, hey, maybe we could have multiple people live together the way we've lived for hundreds and thousands of years. So those are the three things that we're really advocating.
Now, members of the Hustleburg community know that I don't like to look, or I don't like to call what other people would describe as failures as such. I look at them as lessons that we're learning about how something shouldn't go or how something doesn't work. What would you say is the most important lesson that you've learned thus far as you've been building Docked?
Sure. I was super naive. I thought that good ideas would be received and people would champion it. So when I read articles about, hey, city council is all for affordable housing, if their number one priority is like, oh, that's great. People are going to love our ideas. What actually happened is that everybody hated our ideas. And I spent hundreds of thousands of dollars in 3 years of my life trying to build more than 100 affordable units that would rent for about $600 a piece, right in the Edge District, right downtown. And every time I made a proposal, it was rejected. And I could not understand why there was fierce opposition to something that, I think universally everybody agreed would be good for the city, would be good for the community. And so I learned a lot about politics. I learned about bureaucracy. I learned, a lot about urban planning, and was very surprised by that. So yes, first attempt was a failure, but it taught us enough to learn to work differently within the confines to get a solution that works.
Now, what are some of the most inspiring things that you've had the opportunity to work on with the community, not just Pinellas County at large, but also within kind of the housing bubble that you operate in?
Sure. I've worked a lot with foster youth, and all the youth that I've been with through their teens, almost universally, all of them will call me a few years later and say, "Hey, look, I'm sleeping on a park bench. I'm homeless. I'm having a hard time. I need some help." Right? Those calls come, and they're so predictable, right? So I'm like, why are all these folks becoming homeless? Right. And so, like, when we get down to the details, nobody can afford, first month rent and, security deposit. So what we did is we took a small remnant parcel with the idea of what would happen if we used innovative construction tech to create a house that was the strongest, most energy efficient, and most affordable house in Pinellas County. And we believe that we've done that. So we created a house for $99,000 that's being sold to a graduate of foster youth program, Sail Future, that I'm affiliated with. And I think it's something that I want others to see. I think it was a huge effort I think it's an amazing accomplishment. I think that there would be 10,000 other people in Pinellas County that would love to have an 800 square foot house for $99,000. It means your monthly payments,
Absolutely.
you can be a homeowner at 18 years old and with a $500 a month monthly a mortgage payment. And I want other influencers in the community to say, hey, this is great. We need to do more of this. That would
Right.
be news to our ears.
So in your wildest dreams, where is it that you want to take this social club co-living space idea that is docked living, and what is it that you're doing toward achieving that?
Sure. So the co-living space is the fastest growing niche of real estate. There's billions and billions of dollars that have been allocated to it, mostly because there's so much demand. Everybody's looking for a more affordable place to live. Something has to change. There's a way to use co-living to get a higher rent per square footage. We really believe in the business model. We've been super impressed with our performance thus far. We just secured a $50 million line of credit to advance expansion throughout, not just Florida, but the Southeast and along the Mid-Atlantic. So I'm looking forward to working with other municipalities that are excited about co-living as an innovative approach to solve affordable housing crisis.
Now, how much would you say that you're working in the day-to-day of the business versus working on your business to develop and grow beyond St. Pete, beyond Florida, into those other states that you've talked about?
Yeah, I'm super lucky in that we've assembled a team of all-stars. Nick Price here in St. Petersburg is one of them, that are able to build the internal systems that allow me to work on the business instead of in the business.
Nice.
And so in order to grow, you're right, is that we do have to put our heads up and look around at opportunities, and that's exactly what we're doing right now.
Now, you obviously know how glorious it is here in St. Petersburg. Are you a native?
I consider myself a native. I've been here since
Okay.
2004. So
Close enough.
yeah, it's longer than most people. But the thing is, like, it's more about one spirit, and I'm a huge fan of St. Pete. I promote it all the time. I really think it's a gem. I want to make sure it stays that way. And one of the most important things that we can do is, make sure that it's still affordable and we can welcome other people in.
So outside of that foray to Chicago, where else have you been? Where did you move to St. Pete from?
Sure. So I've lived in Los Angeles, originally from Omaha, Nebraska. Lived
Okay.
in, grew up in Southern Virginia, spent some time in South America as well as India. But St. Pete's certainly home.
Now, what are some of your favorite things to do in and around town?
Oh man. So the bike club here in St. Pete is amazing. So one of the
Okay.
things that I am really a huge fan of is, walkable communities, using
Okay.
alternative transportation. I've lived for 10 years in St. Pete without a car. I'm a huge fan of Car Free St. Pete and other organizations that are doing that work. The St. Pete Bike Co-op is super awesome. The people there are great, and so those are some of my hobbies and favorite organizations here in town.
Now, obviously, being here in St. Pete, you have, and I imagine there are a lot that are close to you locally if you're living here car free. What are some of your favorite local businesses to support?
Oh boy. Gosh, there's so many. And that's what makes St. Pete so great, is that there is an environment that promotes independent business owners. Sun State Yoga is a really important partner for DOCT. A lot of our residents are going there on the regular. There's Station House, which pairs extremely well with what we do on the living side. So a lot of
Okay.
our members at DOCT are also members in Station House, and we've got
Got
an
it.
agreement to do that. Oh boy, and I could go on and on. I absolutely love St. Pete and the businesses here.
So obviously, with this having the social club aspect in the co-living space, you're going to have a lot of internal events and activities. Do you have anything for prospective docked living residents that you'd like to make sure that people are aware of, that they can put on their calendars here?
Absolutely. So yeah, events are happening, every week. There are things that are hosted and provoked kind of by residents within the community. And then there's others that, we may have the idea for, and we say, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we organized a camping trip to Rainbow River? And we do other fun things like that, especially during the summer. So that's what DOCT is all about. It's about getting, a very diverse group of people together, making new relationships, having fun, and finding your own tribe. We do that the best. And so stay tuned to our social media for new announcements on events that are coming up.
Well, it's like you knew what my next question was going to be. Where is it that people can find out more about what you offer and connect with you and find out more about if DOCT Living is right for them?
Absolutely. Our website, doctliving.com, as well as Instagram at doctliving. And you can also find me on Twitter at Hunter Mark J.
Awesome. For those of you who are listening either on the radio replay, on radiostpete.com, or listening on your favorite podcast player, don't worry, this is in the show notes. If you don't get the show notes as a part of through your listening app, you can always go to beyondyoursidehustle.com/doctliving, and you'll have all of those things that Mark just mentioned there. Mark, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing with us what it is that you're doing to change the way that people live here in St. Pete.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Brett. Appreciate it.
Hey, you did it. You've just listened to Hustleburg. Hustleburg is produced by Beyond Your Side Hustle, where we help you craft an awesome strategy for your business and build a community that supports you today and in the future. We help budding entrepreneurs go beyond their side hustle and into the business they're dreaming of. If we provided you with something valuable with this podcast, please take a moment to subscribe, rate, and review on your favorite podcast player, especially you Apple Podcast listeners. This is something that only takes a few seconds that will help us shine the spotlight on all the great businesses St. Pete has to offer and grow our community. Speaking of great businesses here in St. Pete, if you're a small business owner here and you'd like to share the story of your business with the Hustleburg community, please let us know by visiting beyondyoursidehustle.com/podcast guest. Did you know that at Beyond Your Side Hustle, we're helping small business owners reach ideal engagement on any social media platform with a free 3-week training by email? It's available for you at beyondyoursidehustle.com/3weeks. You can also find a link for it in the show notes. Start right now to learn how you can fix your feed to serve you, start engaging on social the right way, and create a community around you and your business. The opening music in this episode is Defining Your Dreams by my friend Rhymer Educator. I encourage you to check him out on Spotify, iTunes, or wherever you listen to great music. Thanks so much for listening, and we look forward to sharing with you how we do business in the Burg.